Arne, Dominic's just been telling us how much he's willing to give out on the pitch tomorrow night. So how are you feeling about the game? And also, how are you instilling the belief in your players that this situation is retrievable now?
This situation is?
Is retrievable. You can overturn this 2-0
deficit. No, just first of all, remind them what the score was. That was 2-0. Where it felt completely different, as we all know, but the end result was 2-0. And second of all, we've shown so many times this season in big games that we are able to get a great performance. We've also shown a different face. I'm completely aware of that, but many of our games that we've played were very good as well, especially in big games. And not all of them, because not all of us are together for 1.5 years, but for the ones that have been with me for the past 1.5 years, in the 49 home games we've played, 36 times we were able to score 2 goals or more. So yes, we did not play in all these 49 games against Paris Saint-Germain. I do understand that. But as we all know, the Premier League and the Champions League opponents we had over here were also very strong and are very strong. So yes, there's a belief that we can do special things tomorrow. But we also need to be very, 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 very special tomorrow to achieve that, because we're not playing, because we're playing against the champions of Europe. So that makes the task more complicated, but not impossible.
Obviously, over in Paris, it was a back three. I just wonder, how different is the approach going to be this time around from a formation point of view, but also from an attitude point of view as well?
Yeah, I don't know if a lot has been said about that, because I had to focus on Fulham and now on Paris Saint-Germain again. But usually in football, I know how it works. If you change the system, the focus is completely on the system and not about what's actually happening. People find it probably very hard to believe what I'm going to say now, but the approach is not so different for tomorrow than it was in Paris, because for the people who know me, I never put out a team and tell them to go to a low block for 90 minutes. Actually, if you're really looking the game back, you could see that we've pressed them high on multiple occasions. Unfortunately, 7 or 8 of those moments led to them being one-on-one to our goalkeeper. So again, the approach tomorrow will be to take the risk, because that's first of all what we need. But to get the ball off them, yeah, you need to press them. And we saw how difficult it is to press these players. But that was the same last season, where Anfield did make a big difference for us last season. And I'm expecting it to make a big difference for us tomorrow as well.
And that kind of brings me to my final question as well, because obviously we see 2 wide players at the weekend in Mo and Rio scoring good goals, and in some respects, I suppose that could impact your thinking when it comes to selection. But at the same time, you've got Hakimi to think about and Nuno Mendes. So I just wonder how you weigh up when it comes to team selection like that.
Wow. For a journalist, that's quite a good tactical thinking. Or should I say for a Sky Sports student?
I've done my homework this week.
I think we have to find the perfect balance between being offensive, but to be offensive, you need to have the ball, and to get the ball back against, indeed, you're now mentioning 2 fullbacks, but against all these other players, you have to do so many things well before your attackers can attack. So that's why the history of this club and at other clubs, you've seen a lot of players that are very good offensively, but are also able to do the defensive job, because the only way to score is if you have the ball. And the thing is that tomorrow 2 teams are facing each other. Both would like to have the ball a lot, and the last time we faced each other, they had the ball for 76% of the time. So that's the first thing we have to change tomorrow, to have the ball more. And if we have it more, yeah, then it's nice to have attacking threat on the pitch, and that's what we will have tomorrow.
Good luck.
Vinny, Julie behind.
Hi, Arne. Hi. Just wanted to ask, Rio's still so young. There is so much expectation on him. His performance at the weekend will have added to that. How do you go about managing that? Because you see him every day. And is he someone that could cope with these types of games?
Yeah, I think he can. First of all, because of personality, he doesn't get distracted that soon. I think not since he's been a player, because he's only for a few months very known. But I think everyone who knows his history a bit more, there's a lot of expectation around him for many years already, and he's always been able to focus on football, to become better, to become stronger, to become ready to be at 16 years of age, score your first goal, 17 years of age, and already had multiple starts for the first team of Liverpool. That's one thing, and second of all, because of his quality. He shows that he's able, at the highest level, which is Champions League, but Premier League definitely is this as well, to be able to take 1v1s on and make it difficult for the defenders he's facing. So yeah, I think he's done a very good job in managing what comes to him now, but then it's also a good thing to have so many experienced players around you, which he has in the dressing room.
Dominic?
Arne, you talked about having the ball more. Last summer you bought Florian to bridge the gap on PSG. They were to close the gap on them from the game here last year. What are you looking for him from him tomorrow night in terms of having the influence? Because this is the type of game that you made the investment for, to him to sparkle in.
Am I talking to Mike Gordon now, or am I talking to you? How does he know why we brought Florian Wirtz? What we did after Jurgen left, and we always knew 1.5 years ago that this should be a transition, because sooner or later it would have been the end of a cycle. And we always knew we then needed to recoup money, which we did by selling 10, 11, 12 players, I think. And we've spent that money on young, very talented players that get their time to build on the same cycle as the last 7 or 8 years has been with the players that some of them now already left or are going to leave us in the end of the season. So that is why we brought Florian in, Hugo in, Alex in, Milos in, Jeremy in, young talented players, to create a new cycle. And therefore we needed a lot of players to leave, to find the money to buy them. So we didn't add Florian Wirtz to the team that last season played Paris Saint-Germain.
But you bought him for these type of games?
We bought him for to be successful in the future, which could be the near future or the mid to long-term future. And we bought him and the others, young players, to create a new successful cycle. And the sooner that happens, the better it is. And I'm convinced that either tomorrow or next season or the season afterwards, he will have, like Milos, like Hugo, like Alex, like Jeremy, like Sheke, another 19-year-old we are bringing in this summer, will have special moments here at Anfield. And tomorrow is the first great opportunity for him and the others. But we didn't brought them in for only this single particular game.
Down one behind, then move the mic across that side, please.
Hello, Arne. I wanted to ask you how unique you find PSG as they're very... they change the positions during the game a lot, and how hard it is to oppose them, and what you have to do to oppose them tomorrow, at the same time scoring at least 2 goals to advance. Thank you.
A few things they do indeed makes them special. So building up a three at the back is not so special. Many teams do this in modern football. But having your right fullback sometimes on the left wing position is sometimes you don't see a lot. Having your number 9 sometimes as a centre back dropping so low is also something you don't see a lot. So there are certain parts of their game which makes them really special. But I think what in general makes them really special and difficult to play is not that Hakimi ends up on the left wing, but is the individual quality that these players have. They combine pace. Is it endurance? Does endurance mean that you can keep on running? Yeah, and ability on the ball in any position, except for the goalkeeper. Although maybe he can run, but I haven't seen it yet. maybe he can start running as well, but I haven't seen that him doing yet. But that is, I think, what makes them special, their individual quality, and of course the framework Luis Enrique built over there. But that's not so different compared to how other teams are setting up.
Can we pass the mic over to this side, please? Just over this side, sorry.
Hi Arne, Ziggo Sport Netherlands. Guus Hiddink was with us last week and he told us that he visited you some time ago. So I was wondering, are you a person that takes up advice easily? And if so, what do you take from someone like Guus Hiddink with the career that he's had and the experience that he's had?
I think if you are in a position like I am, you get a lot of advice. Sometimes from people that have done an amazing job as a manager, sometimes in other position, and sometimes could be your friends. Sometimes, although it didn't happen a lot, could even be people like him. But you try to listen a lot to your colleagues, to other people, because they don't always have to be that they've managed or coached a Champions League final or won the league. Other people can give you great advice as well, but it's always nice to speak to people like Guus. Because first of all, he's a great human being, and second of all, he has experienced good and bad times as a manager. So it was nice to have him around and to hear from him. But it isn't as if we are talking that it's just me sitting there and he's giving me advice after advice after advice. That's not the way it works when you talk to each other.
So you didn't bring a notebook?
Sorry?
You didn't bring a notebook?
I had it on my desk, but I didn't use it to write it down. But I don't know if you believe this, but I tend to think of myself that my brains are not the worst part of my head. You find that funny?
I get that.
Yeah, you get that. Yeah. So the hair is not growing that much, but I tend to think that I can remember a lot. That's sometimes also a problem because I can remember referee's decision of a year or 2 years ago, which I then put on the ones that are made now. So it's not always helpful, but if Guus, which he had, gave me good advices, then I don't need a notebook or a desktop to write that down.
Mo.
Hi Arne, you spoke earlier about the amount of times Liverpool scored 2 goals or more. 2-0 obviously would be enough to extend the game into extra time and maybe penalties, but I think PSG are on a run of scoring in 17 consecutive games, and they've not scored in 4 out of 45 games all season long. So from a mindset point of view, is it probably better to go into this game thinking you are going to have to score 3 or maybe 4 goals rather than thinking about keeping a clean sheet?
Why did you have to tell this? Why are you ruining my day? No, of course we know. Of course we know we need an exceptional performance to go through to the next round. But that's completely normal if you face the champions of Europe and you're 2-0 down. Then to make people a bit more positive than you were trying just a second ago, we've also been able to score once in a while more than 2 goals. So, but let's first focus on the job at hand, and that is just start aggressive, making sure we can get back into the tie. And the best way of doing so is, of course, scoring the first goal, which we again know, because otherwise you're going to tell me, yeah, but against last season, they scored the first goal over here. And at Arsenal, they scored the first goal. So, yeah, I know that they will try to score the first goal, but that's definitely what we are going to try as well.
Lewis.
Hi, Arne. How important will the atmosphere and the Anfield crowd be for tomorrow?
Just as important as our performance. So I think we have to be much better than we were last week. And their players are experienced players, have experienced Anfield a year ago. So they think that they know what's coming up. So I can only hope that our fans can find an extra gear compared to last season, which I argue if it's possible because the atmosphere last season was unbelievable. But I think our fans are up for it to make it even louder, which is also needed because then their players get what they don't expect. First of all, a better performance from us, which I do think they would expect, by the way. It's hardly possible to play at the same level again. And our fans I think I can trust them if they were even louder than last season.
Got time for 3 more. We go Adam, then one next to him, then one at the front.
And sorry, just off that, there's obviously, I think you said earlier, there's a belief that Liverpool can do special things tomorrow. Realistically, though, where do you find that belief from, given the nature of the performance last week?
Realistically, and then I didn't.
Realistically, where do you find that belief from, given the nature of the performance last week? Especially, like, obviously, no shots on target, PSG dominated, yeah.
You want one example, 2, 10, or 200? So first 35 minutes at the Etihad, did you expect us to be 4-0 down 20 minutes later? That's even in the same game. I watched Chelsea against City. Did you expect after half-time that 20 minutes later City would have been 3 goals up? Would you expect us after our performance at Galatasaray losing 1-0, which is then a different game, to be... We could have scored 8 or 9 against Galatasaray here at home. So the amount of times that we've shown, especially that we can be much better than we were at Paris Saint-Germain, that's clear. And even Saturday showed how important a goal is. Because at the moment we scored a goal, first 20 minutes we were, in my opinion, by far the better team on the pitch. Then for 10 minutes it was getting a bit more equal. We scored the goal, 10 minutes later we scored the second. That is where football is about. A goal can change the momentum, which happened in a negative way for us at the Etihad, which happened in a positive way for us this weekend here at Anfield.
One behind. Yeah.
Hello, Han, French media. Question in French.
Well, I think this is the 4th time you've played at PSG in only a year. So how do you use the 3 previous matches against PSG to prepare this match and to sort of like achieve something which is going to be pretty impressive if you are to go through? So how do you use the 3 previous matches to prepare for tomorrow night's game and to make sure you play well enough to go through?
I think it makes not so much sense for me to look at the 2 games of last season, because I think on 5, 6, 7 positions we have different players tomorrow night. I don't exactly know, but that's the first thought that comes to my mind. I also know what the game plan last season was. I know which players I used, which their qualities were. And as I've said in the start of this press conference, we've replaced a lot of players which brought different qualities. So to watch the game of last season back at home where we used a certain tactics, I'm not too sure if these players can do the same tactic as we used last season. But the idea behind it will try to be the same. We have to be aggressive, we have to be front-footed from start to finish. But like as I said, so many different players for us this season compared to last season that I did watch it back, but there's not so much to take or to learn from it because of what I just said.
On the front.
Hi, Arne. French question 2, please.
Can you tell us how Konate is going to prepare the match tomorrow? I mean, it's a special game for him after all, isn't it? Because he's French. And what about Konate and renewing his contract? Do you want him to renew his contract and stay at Liverpool?
I think it's going to be a special evening for Ibu tomorrow evening. Only for a small part because he's French, but for a big part because he's playing a quarter-final and of the Champions League, which is also for him quite a while ago. So it's going to be a special night for him, as for all the other players. Maybe one of your English colleagues tried you to ask a question about a contract, but the answer is always the same. We don't talk about contracts in public. So, Vinny, next time just ask it yourself again. And not let anyone else ask it for you.
That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.